It makes me sick. It makes me sick. It does. It makes me bloody sick. This crap. The lies that they tell in here. It starts off all right. It starts off like, oh yeah, well I can. Yeah, well there's something in that. There's something in that. All the advantages of the pound. What advantages of the pound? What advantages have the pound got for us? Why would something else be worse? How could something else be worse than the pound? We don't even own the pound. We don't own the pound. The UK doesn't own the pound. The bloody banks own the pound. The international institutions own the bloody pound. We owe trillions and bloody trillions of pounds to somebody. I don't know who, but we owe it to somebody. The pound? We could ditch the pound tomorrow and we wouldn't bloody care. We couldn't be any worse off than we are now. Closest trading partners. What? Let's see that map again. Let's see that map again. Where's that map of Scotland? Where is that map of bloody Scotland? There it is. What, is this bit going to float off into the Atlantic? Is that what's happening? We're not going to be able to trade there? Look at this. It'll be like that. Do you know what that is? That's Northern Ireland. Do you know why it's like that? Because they want to create the impression that there's a border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, which is mysteriously missing. But you know what? There is no border. You know what? People in Northern Ireland go to hospitals in Southern Ireland, and people in Southern Ireland go to hospitals in Northern Ireland. They trade water, they do all that kind of stuff. They're friends, they're neighbours. There's no boundaries. There's no boundaries. That's the European Union right there in that white space. And there's no boundary, no border between us and it. So how come, when you go back, closest trading partners, it won't bloody change? Come in, we're open. You'll still be bloody open. Our economies grow together. I tell you what they do. They take a bloody nosedive together, which is what they've been doing since 2008 when these dicks bailed out the bloody banks with our money. I tell you, I'm bloody angry about this. I told you I was angry before I started. Why did you start me on this? I'm angry about this. Let's see what they say. 200,000 jobs are supported by banking, insurance and finance. And what are you trying to say? That the 200... What? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to imply here? What are you trying to imply? That 200,000 people will be out of a job? 200,000 people will be out of a job because of what? Why? Why? Because we've got a parliament that can make decisions for ourselves? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Cheaper bills. Cheaper bills. Cheaper bills. Think about that for a minute. Just think about that for a minute. Cheaper bills. Do you know, so let's have a look at that map again. Let's have a look at that map again. Do you know what's off here? Do you know what's off here in this big white space here? Between us and Norway, which is up here, Norway's up there. Do you know what Norway have got? Do you know what Norway have got? A gigantic oil fund. Do you know why they've got a gigantic oil fund? Because when they discovered oil, which is the same time as they discovered oil, when they discovered oil, they pissed it all away, paying for themselves to have a jolly good time down there in that little speck down there. They all had a jolly good time going off to war and buying all sorts of crap and bailing themselves out of all kinds of trouble with the oil that should have come up here. Meanwhile, people here, in this little central belt here, was living in poverty, barely able to afford anything. And forget about any regeneration of this bit here. There was nothing going on in this bit here. I tell you what happened there. All the people from down there came up there and bought up huge tracts of this. Lords and ladies and barons and God knows what else own most of that. We're scrabbling for a living in this little central belt here while they own the rest of that. And do you know how they did it? Because out off here they discovered oil there. Billions and billions of bloody barrels of it. And this bit up here where Norway would be if they had a proper map, Norway's up there. They made an oil fund. That's how they can afford things. They afford things by having an oil fund, the interest on which pays for everything they want to do. So how come you can argue, as they argued back here, we'll get cheaper bills? How will we get cheaper bills if you're still pissing away all the profits from the North Sea oil? How will we get cheaper bills? The cheaper bills will come if we own the oil and the gas. Not you. You're just worried in case we take it with us and don't give you any, which is exactly what will bloody well happen. Life savings and pensions. You're protected by a guarantee of up to 85,000. Do you know what would happen if all the savings that people have got in the banks up to 85,000 had to be covered by the United Kingdom? The United Kingdom would go broke. The United Kingdom hasn't got enough money to cover up to 85,000 for every person. It hasn't got enough money. That's a lie. And in any case, your savings, do you know what that is? That's a reverse piggy bank. That's not a piggy bank where the money goes in. That's a piggy bank where the money comes out. The money comes out because you don't get any interest on your savings, do you? You're paying interest on every other bloody thing. You go and buy a biscuit and it's smaller than last week. Meanwhile, your savings are disappearing. Or at least they're not growing the same rate as inflation. Inflation's like that. Inflation's like that. It's called hidden inflation. Everything you buy is smaller than it was last week. Everything you buy is more expensive or smaller than it was last week. So that's inflation, not bloody growth. Growth of what? Growth of bloody inequality and iniquitousness, if that's even a word. A bigger economy that protects us all. What economy? The false economy that was bailed out in 2008 and now has trillions of pounds of debt. That economy? Is that what you're talking about? That economy? That economy's dead, mate. Lower taxes, higher public spending. Excuse me, lower taxes, higher public spending when you've made 200,000 civil servants redundant in England and Wales. 200,000 wait a minute, that number rings a bell, that 200,000. That 200,000 rings a bell. Look, 200,000 Scottish jobs. 200,000 bloody English jobs have gone because you've cut public spending at the same time as increasing spending. You're just spending it, you're not spending it on the public or on the public services. Lower taxes for who? Lower taxes for who? For the rich. You reduced the tax rate for the rich from 50% to 45%. You gave them in the same week that you introduced the bedroom tax, £25 for each poor person. £25 for each poor person. That's the reality. What about this? I'm getting angry now. Have you noticed? More support for public services. What you mean is selling off public services to private industry. That's what you mean. Selling off public. It's the biggest theft of the public purse there's ever been. You're giving it to your pals. You're giving it to your pals in the city. Down there in that little speck. Where's that map? Do you know something? If you draw a line from there across to there, somewhere across there, is that the Watford Gap? I don't really know. But everything north of that line puts the money in. Where does it go? Down here. Our taxes and everything from all over here. All siphoned down into there. And then you sell off the public services, shared public institutions. Why would we want to share our public institutions? We don't even want the same public institutions that you've got. They're so badly run, you can't even chase tax dodgers. You spend all your time chasing benefit claimants who deserve the money. You know, it's just filled with crap like that. Just filled from beginning to end by crap like that. Look at these people happily singing over the flipping hillside. I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to be running for their lives. That's what's going to be happening.